Have you ever caught yourself outside yourself? Like watching your life from the back row, detached, uncertain? You smile, you nod, you say the right things. But somewhere deep down, it feels hollow. Are you living or are you acting? Today, right now, scrolling through endless feeds, sending polite replies, laughing on cue, are you really you? Or are you playing the role the world handed you? Here lies the unsettling truth. Most people don't live. They perform. Jean-Paul Sartre knew this, and he didn't flinch from its brutality. Existence precedes essence, he wrote. We are not born with meaning. We exist first, confused, untethered, and only then do we start building masks to hide our confusion. At first, these masks comfort us. They help us belong, but soon they imprison us. You play the friend, the partner, the successful professional. But are you those things, or are you merely appearing to be? Sartre called this quiet self-deception bad faith, lying to yourself not out of malice but out of fear. Fear of freedom, fear of responsibility, fear of seeing the terrifying blank page of your own existence. As he warned, we are condemned to be free, and in that freedom many choose the comfort of the script, instead of the chaos of authenticity. So ask yourself, right now in this very moment, are you living or are you simply playing your part? You wake up. Before your feet even touch the ground, something stirs. Notifications, messages, expectations. Already, before you've spoken a word, you are being watched, or at least you feel like you are. Your first decision isn't what to eat or where to go. It's, who should I be today? There's no stage, no director, and yet you already know the script. You follow it without thinking. You dress carefully, though you call it comfort. You phrase your words carefully, though you call it politeness. You laugh when appropriate, though inside, the laughter might be hollow. But pause, really pause. Who are you right now? The real you, or the role you've learned to play? Jean-Paul Sartre saw through this subtle performance long before social media magnified it. For him, life itself was not only a stage, it was a hall of mirrors. Man is nothing else but what he makes of himself, Sartre declared. But here comes the troubling question. What happens when what we make of ourselves is merely a reflection of what others expect? This is where self-deception becomes dangerously quiet. Sartre explained this through a simple but revealing image. A waiter doesn't just serve, he performs. The gestures are perfect. The smile is automatic. He becomes the job so completely that the human beneath disappears. But how different are we from him? Look closer. On social media, profiles become stage props. Photos, edited to balance authenticity and perfection. Captions, crafted carefully to feel effortless. Opinions, reshaped to avoid controversy. You don't post for yourself. You post for them, the invisible audience. They judge, they praise, they ignore. And with every reaction, your sense of identity quietly shifts. Psychological research supports Sartre's view. Studies reveal how humans constantly shape their behavior to win approval. Online, this becomes amplified. Algorithms reward predictability. Originality risks vanishing into silence. But this performance is not limited to the digital realm. At work, professionalism becomes your shield. With friends, casual charm hides deeper truths. With family, affection plays by unspoken rules. Even alone, you rehearse dialogues for invisible critics. These roles are not inherently evil. They offer safety. They help us survive social complexity. Yet over time, they tighten. Sartre's warning was blunt and chilling. Forget the mask, and the mask will start to forget you. It shapes your choices, your gestures, your very soul. Eventually, you become it. And frighteningly, you may not even notice. So the question is no longer simply, do we live for ourselves or for others? It becomes something much darker. Do we even remember how to tell the difference? In a world where recognition feels like oxygen, how do you step away from the script and simply exist? Maybe we don't live for them. Maybe we live through them. And maybe, without them, we fear we'd simply fade into nothing. You walk into a room. Instantly, almost unconsciously, something happens. Your shoulders stiffen. Your words become more careful. Your very posture adjusts, shaped by invisible forces. What just changed? The answer is simple yet terrifying. Someone is watching. Jean-Paul Sartre believed this single shift in awareness changes everything. The look of the other, he wrote, turns me into an object. Not literally, but psychologically. Under their gaze, you become something fixed. Not fluid, not free. In their eyes, you are no longer infinite possibility. You are reduced to a label, a judgment, a category. Think about your own life. Remember the last time you were at a party, in a meeting, or on a date. You probably weren't your truest self. Instead, you performed. You shaped your words and reactions based on imagined expectations. Would they like you more if you agreed? Would they respect you more if you stayed quiet? The gaze of others doesn't just observe, it sculpts. And slowly you start living for that gaze. Sartre argued that this external judgment locks us in place. We begin to see ourselves through their eyes. And worse, we begin to believe it. A confident person becomes arrogant when seen that way. A quiet person becomes invisible. A mistake becomes your identity. In this mirror of judgment, your freedom fractures. Psychologists have explored this phenomenon deeply. It's known as the looking glass self, the idea that our self-image forms based on how we imagine others perceive us. Studies show that people with higher social anxiety often replay interactions repeatedly, haunted by imagined criticisms. Even those without anxiety adapt subtly, molding themselves to avoid rejection. Social media amplifies this effect dramatically. Every post, every story, every comment, all are crafted with the audience in mind. We chase likes, fearing the silence. We adjust opinions, fearing backlash. And yet, something tragic happens in this process. The more we live through the gaze of others, the more distant we become from our own inner gaze. Sartre would say, you are not simply seen. You are captured. And captivity can become comfortable, predictable, safe. But in safety, something dies. Freedom, after all, is terrifying. It demands choices without guarantees. It demands authenticity, which often brings discomfort. So what do? Many choose the easier path, to become what others expect, to play the role, to be liked rather than to be true. But at what cost? Every time we surrender to the gaze, we lose a fragment of ourselves. Until one day you might look in the mirror and realize the person staring back at you was assembled from everyone else's expectations. So ask yourself now, are you living, or are you simply being seen? And in being seen, have you slowly disappeared? You may think freedom is a gift, but Sartre saw it as something far more unsettling. Man is condemned to be free. This is not liberation. This is a sentence. Why? Because freedom comes with an unbearable weight, the responsibility to define yourself, to choose without excuses, to shape your life with no divine script, no destiny, no external justification. It sounds empowering, yet the deeper you think about it, the more terrifying it becomes. Without someone telling you what to do, You are entirely responsible for who you are. Every decision becomes a reflection of yourself. Every action, a declaration. This is what I choose to be. And here lies the dark paradox. Freedom promises possibility, but possibility is infinite. Infinite choices mean infinite ways to fail, to regret, to fall short. The anxiety emerges here. In every yes, there are countless no's. Every path taken closes others forever. You are not only creating yourself, you are abandoning the selves you could have been. Sartre believed that this realization, the absence of excuses, triggers anguish. It is not the fear of danger. It is the raw confrontation with your own authorship. You cannot blame fate. You cannot point to God. You cannot shift responsibility to your parents, society, or past. In Sartre's words, you are what you make of what they made of you. Yes, influences shape you, but you decide what they ultimately mean. And that decision is paralyzing. Psychology reflects this tension. Studies on existential anxiety show that when confronted with too much freedom, people often retreat. They cling to ideologies, roles, routines, anything that gives the illusion of certainty. This is why many choose to just go with the flow, to follow trends, to echo opinions, to be safe. But safety comes with its own hidden danger. By avoiding the responsibility of choice, you live passively. You hand over your existence to circumstances, trends, and the expectations of others. You avoid failure, but also authenticity. You avoid rejection, but also discovery. You avoid pain, but also meaning. Sartre argued that those who refuse to choose still make a choice. To refuse is itself a decision. To not act is to act, to let life define you instead of you defining life. Freedom, then, is unavoidable. You can embrace it or deny it, but you cannot escape it. And yet, that is why it frightens us so deeply. Being truly free means there is no one else to blame. No script. No character. Only yourself and the choices that make you. So, do you choose to create yourself with all the risks and uncertainties? Or do you choose to hide, letting the world write your lines? In freedom, there is fear. But in denial, there is only emptiness. You decide which burden you are willing to carry. You can wear the mask for years, maybe decades. At some point, it stops feeling like a disguise. It becomes your face. You say the right things. You fit into every room. You become who you believe you're supposed to be. But masks are fragile. And life has a cruel way of breaking them. Crisis, a heartbreak, a sudden loss. Moments when the roles fall apart and the lines you've memorized no longer make sense. In those moments, you meet someone unexpected. Yourself. Not the version crafted for others. Not the curated identity built for approval. But the raw, uncertain, unfinished person underneath. And this meeting is rarely gentle. Jean-Paul Sartre understood this confrontation intimately. When we strip away bad faith, the lies we tell ourselves to avoid responsibility, what remains is often terrifying. No scripts, no characters, only freedom. And freedom, as we've seen, is heavy. It demands that you face who you are and who you are not. Psychologists call this process self-confrontation. It happens in moments of existential crisis, when your narrative breaks down, when you no longer believe your own story. Studies show that during these periods, people often experience identity disturbance. They ask, who am I really without my job? Without this relationship? Without the approval I used to chase? The answers rarely come easily. In fact, sometimes they don't come at all. Because authenticity isn't something you find. It's something you create moment by moment through choices made without the mask. And yet, this creation process feels brutal. Without external validation, doubt creeps in. Without a script, silence feels deafening. You begin to realize how much of your life was shaped by others' expectations. What you wore, what you studied, who you dated, what you feared. When these expectations dissolve, freedom can feel like falling. No walls to hold you up, no handrails to guide you. Sartre warned that this moment is inevitable for those who dare to live authentically. It is the price of refusing to lie to yourself. But it's also where true existence begins. Because only when the mask shatters can you start choosing without illusions. Choosing values because they matter to you. Choosing actions that align with who you want to become, not who you were trained to be. This path isn't glamorous. It's rarely celebrated. But it is real. And in being real, it becomes powerful. So when the mask falls and the silence roars back, ask yourself, will you scramble to put the mask back on? Or will you have the courage to face the mirror and begin, perhaps for the first time, to decide who you really are? The mask protects, but only by removing it can you truly breathe. The mask is gone. The applause has faded. The eyes watching you, silent. And now comes the hardest part. What does it mean to be yourself, truly, when no one is looking? Jean-Paul Sartre argued that existence is not a fixed essence, but an endless project. Man is nothing else but what he makes of himself, he insisted. You are not a label, not your past, not your mistakes or your victories. You are choice, unfolding moment by moment. But that freedom doesn't come wrapped in comfort. It demands something rare, something few ever truly grasp. Courage. Because to be yourself authentically, unapologetically, is not automatic. It's not a one-time decision. It's a daily confrontation. Each morning you face infinite possibilities. You could betray yourself to fit in. You could stay silent to avoid rejection. You could wear old masks because they still fit, even if they suffocate. Or you could choose differently. But here's the brutal truth. Authenticity is not rewarded immediately. It is often punished. People may misunderstand you. You may lose relationships built on your old roles. You may face loneliness. Psychology reflects this existential tension. Studies on authenticity show that those who live true to themselves report higher life satisfaction, but also face more frequent conflicts and periods of doubt. Choosing yourself is not about always feeling good. It's about refusing to abandon your own values for temporary peace. Think of Sartre's view of freedom. You are the author whether you like it or not. Even refusing to write is a choice. So, in every interaction you choose. In every silence you choose. In every moment of hesitation you choose. To be yourself is to carry this awareness, not as a burden, but as an act of quiet bravery. Yes, others will still look. They will still judge. But their gaze no longer defines you. You will fall short. You will contradict yourself. You will change. And that is the point. To be authentic does not mean to be perfect. It means to remain committed to facing yourself honestly, even when it hurts. To refuse to hide in roles when life becomes uncertain. Sartre reminds us, freedom is not comfortable. It is raw. It is terrifying. But it is yours. So ask yourself now, will you choose to be the safe version others prefer? Or will you choose, painfully, vulnerably, to be the real version only you can create? Every day offers the same invitation. Choose yourself. Not once, but again, and again, and again. That, Sartre would say, is the courage to truly exist. At the end of it all, the roles, the masks, the applause and the gaze, silence always returns. And in that silence, only one question lingers. Who are you when no one else is watching? Jean-Paul Sartre spent his life wrestling with this brutal, beautiful dilemma. Existence is not a gift handed to you. It's a canvas you're forced to paint, whether you want to or not. You can ignore it. You can pretend the colors don't matter. You can even let others choose the strokes for you. But one day, quietly and inevitably, you'll look at what you've created. And only you will know whether it's truly yours. Masks fall. Roles fade. Followers scroll on. But only you, live with the echo of choices made and chances refused. Sartre's harshest truth was also his most liberating. You are free. Not in the sense of unlimited joy, but in the sense of ultimate responsibility. You are free to lie, free to conform, free to vanish into the noise. But you are also free to be honest, free to carve a path that feels right, even when misunderstood. Free to say, every single day with quiet defiance, this is who I am, and this is who I choose to be. The courage to be yourself does not come wrapped in glory. It comes in whispers, in uncomfortable pauses, in lonely nights and uncertain mornings. But it's there, waiting. And perhaps, just perhaps, it's in those fragile moments of self-confrontation that real life begins. If you stayed with me this far, it says something about you. You're not chasing easy answers. You're here for something harder and more honest. So I thank you, truly, for walking this path with me. If this resonated, you know what to do. Leave your mark below. Share your thoughts. Continue the conversation. Not for numbers, not for vanity, but because this uncomfortable search for who we are is what truly connects us. There are more questions ahead, more masks to peel away, and I'll be here when you're ready to face them. Until then, be gentle with yourself and courageous. Choosing yourself is never easy, but nothing real ever is.